Yo, what's going on, boys? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to another YouTube video. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a build for the Strand Hunter. We do have a couple of Strand modes in the artifact, so today we're going to be utilizing them to the fullest to essentially make the ultimate Strand Hunter build. This build is pretty much going to be utilizing every single aspect of Strand. Woven Mail, Unraveling Rounds, Unravel, Sever, Tangles. If it has something to do with Strand, then we probably have it on this build. Now we are going to be focusing on a couple aspects more than others, so I would say that Woven Mail, Suspend, and Unraveling Rounds are really our main three, with the other ones being like the secondary support things that are just going to make the build better, but they're not really the focus. But regardless, we're still going to be using everything and really utilizing the Strand kit to its fullest potential. And the two exotics that you're going to need to make this build work are going to be the Wishkeeper, the exotic bow, and also the Serachne, the exotic helmet. And yes, that did take a couple of tries to get that right. And as long as we have those two exotics, you're going to be able to make this build work to the fullest. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's build, and if you do, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel in case you guys haven't already. And let's get into it, and first let's start by talking about our exotics. So starting off with the weapon, I decided to go with the Wishkeeper, and that's because this thing is a suspension machine. It does one thing very well, and that is suspend targets, and also deal some extra damage to suspended targets. Whenever you get some precision hits or kills with this bow, you're going to be charging it up, and when it's fully charged up, you can hit fire it to make basically a bunch of suspension traps. You can basically block off areas where the enemies are coming from, or just fire into like groups of enemies and immediately suspend a bunch of them. And since it doesn't require kills, it could also just be precision hits. It is something that you can just consistently do just over and over again. You do charge it faster with kills, since a kill is worth 2 stacks and a precision hit is only worth 1, but you're still going to be able to get this out there and start spamming these suspension traps very easily. And for those of you guys that don't have the Wishkeeper, you can actually still get it from the Star-Crossed mission. Now that one is in the rotator, so it's not here every single time. I don't think it's here right now, but the next time it comes around, if you don't have the Wishkeeper, definitely grab it. Now for our exotic piece of armor, this is all about keeping us alive and giving us some extra damage resistance through Woven Mail. Every time that we activate our grapple, we're going to get Woven Mail, and since we're going to have a lot of different things that can help us get our grenade back faster, activating the grapple is something that we can do very often. So most of the time we are actually going to have Woven Mail, and we're just going to try to spam it as much as we can. Now for your other weapons that you want to run with the bow, I would recommend a linear in the heavy slot. Something like the Scintillation works perfectly. Since it's Strand, it can also take advantage of all the other Strand related buffs and debuffs that we're going to be using. And for your energy slot, I would say that this is the free slot, the one that has the most flexibility. So I would say that you should just try to have all your bases covered when it comes to like the champions and stuff like that. So I used the fusion for a bit, but if I was running into a lot of like barrier champions, maybe I rent something like the Ikelos, or maybe something different to help me deal with overloads. So you just look at the activity that you're doing and then choose accordingly. So now for our subclass, of course we are on Strand, and for your dodge you want to be on the Gambler's dodge, so whenever you use your slam on an enemy, you get back your melee, so you can use your melees a lot more often. For our melee we only have one option, but we want to spam it as much as we can, because it will sever targets, it will hit multiple targets, and depending on the amount of targets that it hits, whenever you catch it back, you basically get a bunch of energy back on it, allowing you to spam it even more. So you want to spam this thing just as much as you can. If your melee is charged up, you always kind of want to look for an opening to be able to use it. If you strand a group of enemies, that's like the perfect time to use it. Now for our grenade, we are going to be on the grapple. This is going to activate our Woven Mail, giving us that extra survivability. And also, it's going to let us do our grapple melee, which is going to unravel whatever we hit. The unraveling is really good. It essentially gives you a bit of extra damage on targets, and whenever they get defeated, they turn into a tangle. And the tangles are a big part of this build, not only because we're going to be making a lot of them, but also because they're going to be doing a lot of ad clear, and they also give us a way to essentially spam our grapple even more. Because whenever we throw a tangle, that's basically a free grapple charge, since it doesn't really take any energy to actually grapple tangles. So you can use that to either refresh your Woven Mail, or just get a couple extra like melee grapples in there. It's definitely very useful. Since we're already talking about a tangle, might as well talk about the Whirlwind Maelstrom. This is the Strand blade that spawns whenever you destroy a tangle, or whenever you throw a tango at an enemy. This is able to unravel enemies, meaning that it can spawn more tangos just by itself, and it also does a lot, and I really do mean a lot more damage than you would expect. It is great for destroying like groups of enemies, and one thing that I don't really see too many people doing with the Monstrum is that whenever it's like in its tornado blade, you can still grapple to it, and basically use your grapple free as long as it's on the ground. So that's a quick way of being able to like either refresh your windmill, basically allowing you to spam even more grapples, and it has to be like my favorite thing to do. So don't just think of the Blade as an ad clear tool, but also a tool to basically have unlimited grapples. Now our second aspect in Snare and Slam is essentially going to give us another way of being able to suspend targets. Whenever we are up in the air, we can hit our dodge and suspend everything around us. And this is very useful for whenever enemies push us, for whenever you need just a quick slam, or you want to do your grapple into a slam, that is something that you can do as well. So you have different ways of using the slam, but they all lead to the same thing, which is you suspending all the enemies around where you used your slam, and them just being a lot easier to kill. Now moving on to the fragments, the first one we're going to have is going to be the Thread of Fury. Whenever we damage things with a tango, it grants melee energy. And this is what's going to help us basically just spam a ton of melees. Even without using our dodge or slam, we're going to be having our melee back really quickly. Essentially all thanks to the Strand Tornado, because all the damage that does counts towards this fragment, and it gives us just that ridiculous amount of melee energy, being able to spam it. The second fragment is going to be so we can regen our other ability, our grenade. Whenever we deal some damage, it generates some grenade energy. So this is all kinds of damage, weapon damage, ability damage, super damage. They're all going to help us to just get our abilities back faster. They're all going to help us to get our grenade back faster, so we can spam it even more. After that we have the Thread of Wisdom, and this lets us get some orbs of power whenever we defeat suspended targets. This thing is actually going to make a crazy amount of orbs, especially with the amount of suspense we're actually going to be putting out there with our slam and also with our bow. It's going to be crazy. It feels like every kill that you get on a suspended target essentially makes no power. And the final fragment is going to be the Thread of Isolation. Rapidly landing precision hits emits a severing blast. So this is going to be another way that we can sever targets, and this is very easy to proc with the bow. 2-3 hits with the bow will essentially sever any enemy, lowering their damage, and this is really useful against things like champions, mini bosses, That's pretty much like the thing where you benefit from this the most. Now this one, depending on the content that you're doing, you could switch it out, especially if you're not doing like super high-end content, because you pretty much get the most value out of this one, doing some of those GMs, raids, and stuff like that. But if you're not doing those, then you could go with any other mod and it'll pretty much be okay. Now moving on to the artifact, the only main two that you really want to have are going to be Unraveling Orbs. So every time that you pick up an Orb of Power, you gain Unraveling on your Strand weapons. So your bow and your Fusion Rifle are both going to be unraveling targets, doing more damage, and also giving your bow anti-barrier. So that can also be pretty useful. And the other one is Horse Shuttle. Damaging unraveled targets will occasionally spawn threadlings. And this is fantastic because we're going to be having unravel, like I said, a lot of time thanks to Unraveling Orbs, meaning that we're always going to be making threadlings, and those threadlings are just going to be going all over the place, just doing a bit of extra damage. And that's pretty much going to be it for the Strand mods. There's only 2 currently on the artifact, but man, do they work well with each other. Now for the other mods that are not Strand mods that may also work pretty well, you have Dreadful Finisher. Whenever you finish some powerful combatants, you can make some special ammo, and whenever you finish mini bosses or champions, you make even more ammo. And of course, Particle Reconstruction, especially if you decided to go with a fusion and a linear fusion, definitely you want to have Particle Reconstruction in. And I will have it as soon as I can actually unlock it. The XP has definitely slowed down now that I really got into the episode and started playing a lot more. So it's kind of a slow grind up to the top now. And lastly, let's take a look at the mods that are running on this build. First of all, for the helmet, we're going to have Harmonic Siphon, so we can make some orbs with our Strand weapons. And you also want to have Heavy Ammo Scout, as well as Heavy Ammo Finder, just so we can be topped off on our heavy weapon, so we can use it a lot more often. For your gauntlets, you want Focusing Strike, Heavy Handed, and also Harmonic Loader. Harmonic Loader is a big one, especially on bows, because you basically have to reload after every single shot. So having the harmonic loader just lets you get those shots out there faster, being able to build up your stacks faster, put out damage faster, and also being able to suspend things faster. Heavy-handed is gonna let us make some orbs of power whenever we get some kills with our spike or with our grapple melee. And focusing strike will give us some class ability energy whenever we hit something with our spike or again with our grapple melee. Just overall so we can spam it a lot more often, and the orbs are just gonna help us basically spam everything. For the chest piece, we just have these resistances, pretty normal, nothing really special here. For the boots, we have the classic Orbs of Restoration, Absolution, Recuperation. Nothing really changes, nothing ever changes in the boots. It's very rarely that we actually change these mods, like they have to be something very specific, but these are just so good all around. And lastly for the class item, we're gonna have Powerful Attraction, Reaper, and also Bomber. Powerful Attraction will let us just pick up all the orbs that are around whenever we use our slam or our dodge. Reaper is gonna let us make some more orbs after using a slam or the dodge. And then we're also gonna be getting back a bit of grenade energy so we can spam our grapple. This I'm actually kind of surprised that works with the slam. I did not expect Powerful Attraction to actually work, but it does. So, you know, I'll take it. And with that, that's gonna be the end of the build, boys. As always, there will be a dim link in the description and also in the comments below in case you guys want to check out the build and use it for yourself. And if you do end up using it, make sure that you guys come back here and just tell me what you guys thought about it and if you ended up liking it. Now, if you never used the bow before, it might take a little bit to get used to like the arc of you shooting the like mines, but the best advice that I have is that you just gonna shoot it straight at enemies. Don't get too fancy with it. Just fire that shot straight into the enemies. And even if you don't get all of them, as long as you get one of them, he's gonna spawn a tango whenever it dies, and then it's gonna spawn the tornado, and it's gonna start unraveling everything. So you pretty much only have to kill one guy to get one tango to get pretty much everything started. Keep an eye out on the stacks in your bow because you definitely want to use it as soon as you get it. Since you build it up so quickly, you want to take advantage of as much suspend as you can. Also, use your slam, use your grapple, use your melee. Pretty much just try to get all the abilities out there. The more abilities you get out there, the more sever you're spreading around, the more unravel you're spreading around. While playing, you're gonna be making lots of tangles, so always remember to like grapple onto the tangles, even if you're not gonna follow them into like battle. That's just a very easy way of essentially refreshing your woven mail without having to like use your grenade. As long as you have tangles around, you essentially have unlimited grenades and unlimited uses of refreshing your woven mail. You have a lot of versatility with the tangles. They have to be like one of my favorite things in the game when it comes to like things that you can do with them. They are so versatile and I just love them. So hopefully you guys have fun with the build and enjoy suspending a bunch of enemies, spamming abilities, and also having a bunch of tangles. Or more like deadly blade blades going all around. But thank you for watching today, thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.